Right, down here in East Wallingford, we are about 10 or 15 miles from some of the hardest hit communities across Vermont. We're talking Ludlow, Weston, Londonderry. Some of these communities are completely underwater, and we have a little bit of a taste of that here. I want to show you right behind me here. This might be familiar to some of our viewers. This sort of pole here that shows a history of flooding in Montpelier. You can see this sticker pasted on says 2023. This was the first major flood of this year back in July, pretty high up. If you look farther down here now, you can see where the water is right now. Like I said, it appears to be about 15, 16 feet, and that is just a couple feet below the tropical storm Irene markers. Well, exactly 1 year from this Saturday in Burlington, things are going to get dark. Okay, maybe not quite this dark. There we go, something a bit more like this. You could be sitting with your toes in the sand, getting ready to hop in the water, and all of a sudden some dude walks up to you and says, "Hey, did you hear? They just closed down all of the beaches." Well, that's because cyanobacteria, also known as blue and green algae, is starting to pop up. We might see, I think for the first time ever at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, cars racing on wet weather tires. Could be interesting. The surface could be very, very slick out there. It could make for some chaos, to say the least. We'll have to wait and see how it all unfolds. Yeah, I'm joined by the first ever female mayor-elect in Burlington history, first ever openly LGBTQ mayor-elect in Burlington history, Emma Mulvaney-Stanek. How are you feeling right now? Yes, Lauren, that's exactly right. Quite a bit has actually happened since we last joined you 15 minutes ago. I'll show you what everything looks like right now. Lauren, that's right. You can probably see right next to me here, the front door doesn't quite look like it normally would. And Tom, as I stand here trying to get my sea legs on the barge, I'm wondering how you guys try to adjust, or if you have to adjust if a barge is rocking like this in the heavy winds. Does it kind of change the directions they might shoot off? This is fantastic snow here to pack in this heavy wet snow and make some snowballs, or if you have some good Vermont maple syrup in the fridge, then you can make some sugar on snow one final time. The water Wednesday night only came up to about here, certainly not as bad as 1 year ago or for Hurricane Irene, but it was still high enough to flood basements. As you can see, the snow has not let up at all throughout the day, but on the contrary, the roads actually do not look all that bad right now. Here in Moortown, local officials were telling people to completely evacuate the village Wednesday night for road washouts just like this one along Vermont Route 100B.
What I saw that evening was horrific.
This past Monday night at US Route 2 and Clay Point Road, there was a crash involving two pickup trucks. Police say one of them left the road, slamming into the other, and one of the drivers, 33-year-old Nicholas Ringett, was killed. The crash shook much of the neighborhood to its core.
It wasn't what I saw, it was what I heard. It was a god-awful impact.
For some living nearby, it was a sight and sound all too familiar.
It brought back vivid memories of a year ago of losing a woman who lived with us.
June 22nd, 2022, 64-year-old Deborah Warner and her dog Piper were killed in a crash at the exact same intersection, and a memorial filled with flowers and crosses can still be seen there to this day. Warner's untimely death shattered the world of her good friend Luba Routson, but also sparked motivation for Routson to make change.
After Deb died, I didn't want her to die in vain, nor did I want to see anybody else die at that intersection.
With support from the Colchester Select Board and Police Department, Routson and other people in the neighborhood went to Vermont's Agency of Transportation asking for improved traffic safety measures at the intersection and along Route 2. They wanted caution signs, traffic lights, and the speed limit lowered to 45 miles per hour, all backed by a stern warning.
Oh, well, a very clear message that this will happen again. We all said it will happen. We've all had near misses on that road.
Despite their efforts, Routson says VTrans did not give them what they wanted. The agency lowered the speed limit from 55 to 50 and elected to keep stop signs on Clay Point Road instead of traffic lights. The cause of the recent crash is under investigation, and it's not clear if a traffic light would have made a difference, but Routson and other community members are now echoing the same message they had 1 year ago and demanding the same safety changes be made once again.
Now we find ourselves 1 year later in the exact same spot. We need to wake up if we want more people here in the state of Vermont.
As human beings, we're all responsible for taking care of one another and trying to do as best we can to make sure that accidents like this are avoidable. I implore those powers that be put their parental hat, put their human hat on here, and do something about it.
In Londonderry, virtually every single business downtown was flooded out this past Monday, as shown in this video, courtesy of Rick McDonough. Among them, a community staple that's already been devastated by floods twice in the past.
It's been the worst nightmare you could ever hope to wake up from. Worse than anything you could ever imagine.
Bev Jelly has owned Jelly's Deli for decades and says this flood is the worst one she's ever experienced. Inside the store, Sharpie marks on the wall showing the high water mark, mud-covered bottles all the way up to the top shelf, and old family photos just barely surviving the wreckage. The Jelly family expects rebuilding to take months, but say the love, support, and donations they've received from the community keeps them pushing forward.
Had I not had the love and support from these people and my community, I would not have even attempted to start clean this place up. They were here from day one, minute one, have not left my side, have not left this building. We will rebuild and we will be back with my team and my family.
We're Vermont strong.
Yes, we are.
Meanwhile, just 10 minutes up the road in Weston, hundreds more people are cleaning up their downtown and trying to save some of their community's centerpieces.
It's been kind of heartbreaking, quite frankly. It's a place that I've been here for close to 20 years. So this is a place that I have called home for a long time.
Some of the worst damage can be seen at the Weston Playhouse, a building that's been at the heart of the community for nearly 100 years. People working there say they had close to 12 feet of water and mud in their basement, leaving the rooms down there destroyed. But luckily, the above-ground floors received only minimal damage, meaning the Playhouse as a whole can live to see another day. And that's exactly what community members want.
The support of the community and just the love that outpours and the help that outpours is just so heartening and just so uplifting.
Petty is out in front at the line. Walter to the inside. Petty wins it.
Ken is the last great American storyteller. I don't think we'll see the likes of Ken Squire again. We're going to miss him.
Michigan this afternoon.
Vermont native, renowned motorsports broadcaster, NASCAR Hall of Famer, but above all, a humble man.
He was larger than life, but never acted that way. He was just a real down-to-earth guy and treated everybody the same.
His speech was all about other people in the class and other people he'd covered. And he didn't think he should go in the Hall of Fame because he thought it should be about competitors.
Dale, how about that ride? How about it?
Ken Squire, considered by many as the greatest racing broadcaster of all time, died at his home in Vermont Wednesday night. Since then, the memories and tributes have been pouring in.
They say don't meet your heroes, right? That's the cliche, but Ken was definitely one of your heroes that you could meet.
This morning we did a 2-hour show about Ken, and if Ken were here, he would have been upset that we put the spotlight on him.
Dream big.
At a national level, Ken Squire put NASCAR on the map, helping land a deal with CBS to put the Daytona 500 on air for the first time ever in 1979, a race that featured some of his most famous calls.
And there's a fight between Cale Yarborough and Donnie Allison. The tempers overflowing. They're angry. They know they have lost.
He had an incredible ability to do the radio broadcasting and paint the picture, which radio does. And on the television side, you put captions under pictures.
Mike Joy standing by with Ned Jarrett and Buddy Baker.
The way he could turn a phrase and the way he could get people to care about the drivers, respect them as athletes, and look up to them as heroes was just masterful.
To win this race over 500 miles.
Squire would broadcast races at NASCAR's top level for decades, and in 2018 was one of 4 non-competitors to date to be inducted into NASCAR's Hall of Fame.
Had it not been for Ken, I think it would have taken until, 1990 or so, when cable networks ESPN and TNN and TNT duked it out for TV rights. before NASCAR racing found a place on television.
Yeah, I had fun with it, that's for sure.
But at a local level, Squire and his family have been important to Vermont for nearly a century. His father, Lloyd, first owned WDEV radio in Waterbury in 1931 and passed ownership on to Ken in 1979. And in Barrie, Ken founded Thunder Road in 1960, owning it up until just a few years ago.
It was like talking to your friend, you know. Ken was, the best way to describe Ken is he's one of us. Ken was always, even after he sold the Thunder Road, he was always trying to bring it up to the next level.
I'm in the booth calling the race, and next to me is the guy that was, you know, the inspiration to a lot of youth in the 1980s when it came to NASCAR, and you don't appreciate it at the time.
Here they are for third. At the strike, it will be Jarrett.
While he would never brag, boast, or even acknowledge his greatness, Ken Squire's impact on Vermont and the racing world can't be overstated.
Definitely some pressure to have the polish on so that Ken will be happy with it as well, and now I know he'll be watching every one. So
He certainly had a full plate, but devoted his full attention to whatever was the task at hand. And every time I was with him, I learned.
Ken Squire was 88 years old. Matt Holderman, ABC22 News.